Hi everyone, it's Mari. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm participating in a Crafting About Reading YouTube hop organized by Becky Adams. Becky and her husband tragically lost their son Austin, and in the memory of their sweet boy, they host a memorial library project each year. The family collects books through an Amazon wish list. Hundreds of books have been donated to a local library in Austin's name. This is an important project, and Becky has a link to her blog in her video description as part of the hop with more information if you want to know how you can help. Links to other video participants in the hop are also linked in the description box below. I'm going to start my project today with this really awesome cut file that I purchased over in the Silhouette Design Store. And I've actually cut this out with some American Crafts precision cardstock that you can see here, which is kind of a lavender color. And I'm also taking some lavender ink from Pink Fresh Studio, and I'm just going to blend that really pretty dark purple ink onto my cut file. And that's going to just kind of like give the edges of the cut file a little bit more definition. And it just kind of gives the cut file a little bit more interest as well. And I really like how this looks when I've got all of the ink blending done here. So I'm just using my Honeybee Stamps blending tool and that ink pad to blend that on. I'm working on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station mat here, which is really fun to use for this type of technique because the magnets allow me to sort of hold that cut file down on my table and then go ahead and do that ink blending in all of those different little areas. So I just wanted to go around the outside edges, and then I also wanted to apply a little bit of the ink to the insides of the openings of the letters. And I just love this cut file for the love of books. I think it's so cool, and it fits the theme of this YouTube hop so well, which is reading and the love of books in general. And so I am going to be documenting here about books that I love to read, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as I'm working away on my project here today. So I'm just taking a look here and just making sure that I have, for example, some ink on the insides of those O's and the other openings in the letters. And when I'm all happy with that ink blending there, I'll be ready to stick that down to another layer of cut file. So what I've done is I've taken some really narrow strips of foam adhesive. I think these are by Darice, and I will take the backers off of those strips, and I'm going to adhere the lavender color cut file onto a white cut file. So I cut the file twice, once from white cardstock and once from the purple, and I'm going to adhere the purple over the white just by offsetting it a little bit, and the foam adhesive will give this a lot of dimension, and then you can just see how that little bit of white pokes out around the edges, and it just makes it look really cool and 3D. Now I'm going to be using a bunch of Paige Evans product here for my layout today. I'm using mostly Bloom Street, which I think is my favorite Paige Evans collection, although I love all of her collections. I think this one is the one that I sort of like love the most, but they're all gorgeous. And so what I really love about this one is it's got so many beautiful purple tones. And so I'm just showing you some of the papers that I'm going to be using here on my project. Now that floral paper that I'm using for my layout is 12 by 12, and I am going to cut down a piece of white cardstock to 11 by 11, and then the paper that you can see right underneath my cut file, I am going to cut to 10.5 by 10.5. Here you can see some other different elements I'm going to be using, including that strip at the bottom, which I think is from a paper from Whimsical. And you can see my 4 by 3 photograph there. I've matted it with that same purple cardstock that I used for my cut file. And then I'm going to use actually the floral paper that's the matte on my layout right now, that really pretty daisy paper. That's actually going to be a matte on my photo as well. So here you can just see I'm going to start to trim down my paper. So like I said, this white cardstock is going to be cut to 11 by 11. So I'm just going to take a little bit of measurement off of two sides. So I'm going to take an inch off of two sides there. That's going to take that down to 11 by 11 from 12 by 12. I'm going to put that down over the daisy floral as a mat. Before I adhere that down though, I do want to gut the daisy paper. It's just such a beautiful paper, and I just want to make sure that I use it to its maximum here in my stash. So I am going to just go ahead and cut out the center part of that paper. And some of that center part I am going to use as a mat for my photo here today. So I'm just going to finish getting that all trimmed out, and I will start to adhere my different pieces together here. So just going to set that aside, and now you can see I've got all the papers cut down to size. So that very top layer, that kind of watercolory paper there, is cut to 10.5 by 10.5. And now you can see that pink strip that I'm going to use as a layer sort of at the bottom that's going to kind of ground all of my different elements is going to need to be trimmed down as well. I do want to just distress it a little bit with my paper distressing tool, and then I'm just going to measure where I'm going to trim that down as well, so that it is the right width for the bottom portion of my layout here. So just going to use my pencil to mark off where I need to trim that paper, but it basically will be trimmed to 10.5 because that is the width of my square paper that this will sit on. And I am also going to take that watercolor paper, the top layer, once I have this strip adhered to it, I'm going to take that down to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do a line of stitching all the way around the outside edge of that, just to add a little bit of texture and detail to the perimeter of that piece of paper. So now I've got that all trimmed off, and it will just be, I'm going to go ahead and adhere these layers together once I have everything all ready to go. So here you can just see I'm going to use part of this paper, like I said earlier, as a mat. And I just think this is such a beautiful color, beautiful colors that are in this paper. And I do really love purple. It's just a color that is a really happy color in my opinion. And I love to read. Reading is one of my favorite pastimes for sure. And spreading the love of reading is something that I am definitely, or have always been, really super passionate about. So here you can just see that I'm going to start layering those together. This is a stack of books from my book stash, from my bookshelf, and it just shows you my eclectic reading kind of, style. I love to read all different kinds of books for sure. Now this is just showing you here one of the die cuts from Pages Die Cuts, and I'm going to I've used that scallop punch to create a white scallop for that as well. I just showed you that stitching there. I'm going to start putting everything together and start building the rest of my layout and all of the different details. So in that stack of books, you will see everything from soup to nuts, including A Farewell to Arms by Hemingway. I've got some Stuart McLean, The Vinyl Cafe in there. I've got A Book of Awesome. I have a little bit of Stephen King. I've got 1984, some really classic reads, some nonfiction there as well. Having been an English teacher for 32 years, I'm actually surprised I didn't have a Shakespearean play in that stack as well in my photo, but we definitely read to our children from a very early age, and they both had a really strong passion for reading as they grew. And I just love that Becky has this project and her family has this project in memory of Austen. I think it's just so amazing. It's such a fantastic legacy, and I just love it. And I just had so much fun putting this project together as part of this hop. So I want my cut file to just be sitting on the ledge of that pink paper strip. That's the horizontal strip at the bottom. And I'm going to pop up the lavender paper, the purple paper here on my photo mat on a little bit of foam adhesive, just to give it a little bit more dimension on my project here. So you're going to just see me adding some foam squares to the back of that photo layer there in that mat, and adding that to that daisy paper. So I'm just going to take the backer off of those foam squares and add that onto my floral photo mat piece here. And I will soon be able to get that adhered to my project, and checking to make sure that I have that centered on there. And I'm also going to add some foam adhesive to my journaling spot that I'm going to adhere to that white scallop cardstock piece there that I have cut. And this is just going to give some nice dimension to that journaling spot as well. I love that Pages Collections include these journaling spots. They're always really awesome for adding journaling to your projects. And I'm just going to eyeball this and get this centered, and then it will be ready to add to my project. Now, I also wanted to use some of these really pretty die cut floral bits from Bloom Street to the words in the, or some of the words in the cut file. I just thought that embellished them really nicely, and it adds more of the florals over to that part. So right now there's florals on the journaling spot, and there's a few florals in that little horizontal strip at the bottom. And so now you can see I've added a floral cluster to the top left, and I'm also adding a floral cluster below the cut file underneath, or under, or I should say below the photograph. And some of these are added with foam adhesive, and some of them are just flat on the project. So the first pieces that I've just added flat, and then anything that's on top, the topmost layers, will be added with foam adhesive just to give them some more pop and dimension on the layout. And I just love these florals. They're so pretty, and these are from Bloom Street and from Whimsical. And you'll see me just kind of like folding up some of the edges, bending them up a little bit to give them some more dimension as well. And I'm just going to add some little bits in underneath just to complete and fill out the little cluster areas. Now I'm going to use some of the lavender ink to edge this little book, and I've die cut that out of a piece of pattern paper from one of Pages Collections. And you can see that I moved that journaling spot to the lower right corner of the photo. I just didn't want too much of the photo to be covered up, so I just liked it down kind of in that corner there. I feel like it's a little bit more balanced. And so now we've got the cluster sort of down there under the photo, and of course up to the top left corner of the cut file. So I'm really loving how this is looking. I just want to make sure that I have everything popped up and adhered down and secured on the project. You can see that there's a little sentiment die cut piece there that says a little story, and I've got that where the journaling is going to go on the project. Now, these are some of the enamel dots that are part of, I think, from the Bloom Street collection as well. And I'm going to just add some of the really pretty little sparkly circles to some of the centers of the florals in the different little areas. They're just kind of spreading them out on the project. And I'm almost finished here. Once I have these down, I'm going to do a little bit of white splatter with some Dina Wakley white gloss spray. And like I said, I'm just about finished, just adding a few little finishing details. I will say though that I have linked up in the description box below to all of the people who are participating in this fantastic hop today. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out everybody's videos. I'm just, again, so honored to have been asked to participate in this project today, in this YouTube hop. I think it's just so awesome. And I just really encourage you to make sure that you check out Becky's blog post with all of the different details about their memorial project for Austin and for libraries. And I just think it's just a really great thing that they're doing. And books are so important in the lives of adults, of course, but children, so important for children to get hooked on books at a very young age. If you get kids hooked on reading when they're little, they're going to be hooked on reading for life. And it does really have an impact on every aspect of kids' growth and development as far as, learning goes and that kind of thing. So I am a lover of books and I love the project. I think it's so cool. So this layout came together well, and I love it so much. I love all of the purple tones. I love the florals. I think it's balanced nicely, and I love that stack of books, and I just had a lot of fun. So I hope you did too, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by today and checking out my video. Please make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section below. Make sure that you, like I said, watch all of the videos in this hop, and there is so much inspiration and so much talent in this hop today, and it is just fantastic. So have an amazing day, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.